Welcome to the regular meeting of the Burbank Police Commission for February 21st. We will start out the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner McKenna. Please rise.
Join me as we flag our country. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll do a roll call to start the meeting. Sherry, please.
Commissioner Chapman?
Present.
Chair Coombs is not here. Commissioner Ellman?
Here.
Commissioner Feruzin?
Here.
Commissioner Jacobian is absent. Commissioner McKenna?
Present.
Commissioner Wenzel?
We'll have a period of public comment later on in the meeting. If you do want to call in, the call-in number is area code 818-238-5424. I'll repeat that. I got it wrong. It was 818-238-3335. We'll start the meeting with commission announcements and reporting out by the commissioners and ad hoc committees.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to say I've had the privilege of attending the Burbank Police Foundation's luncheon honoring our officers for the past 3 years. It was very well done, very impressive, and it makes me proud to be not only a citizen of Burbank, but a part of this commission. Thank you all, gentlemen.
Would any other commissioner like to report out?
I attended the awards luncheon as well, and it was a delight, and it was nice to be able to catch up again. They had suspended the awards luncheon for about 4 years, I believe, and it was nice to finally get that back in the regular order.
If there's no other commission comments or reporting out, now's the opportunity for the public to call in to our, if we have anybody present in the chambers who will like to address the commission, now is your opportunity. Not seeing anybody present, I will move on to opening up the phone lines. Again, that's 818-238-3335. Do we have anybody in the queue?
We do not, sir.
Not having anybody in the queue and waiting to call in, we will move on. I would like to get a motion to approve the minutes from the January 17th meeting.
I second that motion.
The motion is seconded. Can we call for a vote? Is everybody in favor of the motion?
Yes.
I will abstain because I was not present at the last meeting. Under items of business, we have a review of the community engagement meeting concerning military equipment with discussion and possible recommendations, if applicable, regarding any public comments. Since I don't think we had any public comments, would any commissioner like to make additional comments on the preceding meeting concerning military equipment? Okay, since we have no comments, we can move on to point 2, which is the discussion and possible recommendations to amend the Commission's annual dashboard calendar.
Mr. Chair, can we postpone that till later in the meeting so that if Mr. Combs does make it, we can have him here for that.
Yeah, we can do that. Everybody in favor of it? Okay. Okay, next point is concerning a report by an ad hoc committee of the Police Commission concerning driving safety and a new program that might come into fruition. Sherry, can we show the PowerPoint? Yeah, this was put together by, I believe, Chairman Combs and Commissioner Romick and Akopian. And it is a partnership of many car dealers in the area and other supporting partners, the department, and also possibly with the Police Commission. We can discuss that if we are going to be part of this program, which I think is a very valuable program. I'll give everybody a few seconds to read over this flyer poster which was created. And this program is really about young drivers in Burbank. And basically, it's an educational program to help younger drivers realize the responsibilities of safe driving. Would anybody in the department like to comment on this, Chief?
So I'll be brief. The folks that have done the heavy lifting associated with this campaign aren't present today, so I don't want to shortchange the value of this program. So since we've embedded a driving behavior or driving safety program in BUSD, the commission also wanted to, can we put the PowerPoint back up? Wanted to expand that to our dealerships and other community allies as far as a driver safety campaign. So we talk about it all the time. We have our daily and weekly crime control meeting. The weekly would be Wednesday when we have the big one, and our Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. And driving behavior, outcome as far as traffic accidents and anything related to driving is discussed. So we want to make sure that there is a greater opportunity to share that information with our community, and especially our young drivers that are soon to be drivers and young drivers, as far as the responsibility associated with driving. So the commission has put together a ad hoc committee to pursue in a larger scale as far as that safe driving campaign.
Thank you, Chief. Would any commissioners like to discuss this program?
I'd just like to say that my generation, we were supposed to be shocked by driver's ed films. And what they came to realize was shock doesn't work. Shock doesn't last. Understanding lasts. And I was really moved by this program and how the effort is being made to create an understanding. Because as there's a short-term benefit to the shocking videos, to the crushed car on the side of the campus before prom, but the understanding of it being your responsibility and the consequences, not only to you, but to the people around you, I think creating that understanding is going to have more of an impact. So thank you, very well done.
Any other commissioner like to comment?
Yes. I'm not sure I fully understand. Is this an educational program? Is it like classes that are going to be presented? I didn't see the U.S. The Burbank Board of Education or anything.
So that's separate and apart. That's what started the campaign, is when we collaborated with BUSD, and this goes back to the Glen Oaks horrific accident on August 3rd. And the next day I was on the phone with BUSD and a couple of the superintendents to see if we could have a safe driving program at the schools where we can reach out to ninth graders and new drivers, driving permits, just starting to drive. So that was in August, and because they already had the curriculum for the fall, it was presented in the spring, and we have been able to do it at least one of the semesters a year since August 3rd. So the commission, some of the commissioners paid attention to what was being done and wanted to expand it outside of the school district to have it a community campaign for safe driving. And the folks that are on the PowerPoint that you're holding right there are collaborating with an effort to introduce information education and for driver safety.
Is the part that does not include regular students, is that part of the adult education then?
Sure. I'm going to call it community education. You can call it adult education, but this is for everyone in the community. So understand that it's not specific to the police department as far as education and enforcement. It also public works as far as traffic engineering. You also have the zero, what is it, campaign, what is it, zero, what is it? Vision Zero, that's a national movement. So it's everyone together bringing education, mindfulness as far as safe driving. So what's unique about this program is they also are going to collaborate with some of the dealerships. You look at vehicles today, all vehicles are high-performance vehicles. It's not like when I was a kid and certain folks would have high-performance vehicles. Any vehicle you buy today is going to be a high-performance vehicle. So by collaborating with not only the car dealerships and other philanthropic groups to have it ever present on everyone's mind as far as their driving behavior.
This I think is great. The program reminds me of when I was young, and I think you did too. We had driver education in the schools, and that taught not only how to physically manipulate a car, but also about the dangers of abusing the privilege. Is this a certified program in any way? What I'm thinking is there some incentive, like does possibly somebody get a discount on insurance like seniors do if they do a refresher course or something? No.
And it's not like when we had driver's training, which was mandated, and if you attended and completed, you got 10% off your car insurance, and most parents insisted that you participate in those programs, both the in-class and the driving part. This is just being a good steward, a good neighbor, and being a good driver. So not only your driving behavior, but also driving without being under the influence. In today's, with today's technology, with devices, and your car is a big device, is just overstating the need to pay attention to your driving. Turn all the other devices off and focus on your driving, and don't speed.
Chairman, the topic, the agenda topic is discussion of the collateral materials. So this conversation is sort of going in a different direction. It's really the marketing materials. That's all we're really talking about. It's not a program. It's not anything that the police department is doing. It's the commission's safety ad hoc committee that came up with these collateral materials. And really, it's just for your review to either be part of the collateral materials and approve it, or that's it. But the other discussion about the safety aspect of it is really not part of this discussion.
Thank you, Sherry. Thank you. Please introduce yourself.
Good evening, Commissioners. Viviana Garzon, Police Administrator. Thank you, Sherry, for that clarification. I was going to mention what Sherry mentioned. I just want to say that Mr. Jacobian and Mr. Coombs took the lead on putting these two flyers together. They designed it, they chose the pictures, the information. The goal of this flyer in particular, this is going to go to participating Burbank dealerships, right? So you have Nexus, IMX, AutoWorks, Community Chevrolet, Radical Auto, and Carl's in Burbank. So the idea, and maybe one of the commissioners can further elaborate at the next meeting, the idea is that this pamphlet will be at these dealers, and when a family comes in and purchases a new car for their young adult, they also receive this flyer. So it's informational and educational for this young adult who's receiving a nice new car for the first time, and they are now going to go out and be responsible for driving safely. I think that is the goal that Mr. Jacobian and Mr. Coombs had for this information here.
Thank you very much for the
You're welcome.
clarification. I think personally it's a great program, and thank you to the Burbank Armenian Association for supporting it. The only suggestion I have is these flyers should also maybe be in insurance agencies, because that's a key part of automobile ownership. Sherry, should we take, Leila?
Yeah, I was just going to say thank you for sharing that. That was going to be my question as to how it was going to be distributed, whether it was just, available, on the counter, or something that was included when, you purchase a car and you get a big pile of papers. But so that totally makes sense. I was wondering if there's any, I don't know what the utility would be of this, but is it potentially something that officers could have in patrol cars, and when they give someone an advisement for maybe driving a little too fast, or maybe looks like they're driving a little distracted, or things like that, to hand those out as well? Just wondering.
I think there's definitely opportunity for use to use this material in other places, just like the safe driving program that Chief Albanese mentioned that happens at the high schools. I think there's an opportunity for us to distribute this information there as well. I believe Mr. Coombs and Mr. Jacobian are part of the subcommittee, and as the members of that subcommittee, they can further discuss how we can use this information, and then bring it back to the rest of the commission to discuss how it can be used. I personally do think that there is an opportunity to use the material elsewhere, and kind of broaden the outreach with this material. It's good material and important information to make sure that everyone is driving safely, and that we are meeting that that goal of zero fatalities on our streets.
And DUI checkpoints. So I think the committee will do a deeper dive, and that this is supposed to be a discussion with you folks. Two of the main players are not here, so we're kind of at a disadvantage. But it'll give them direction moving forward, or the commission direction moving forward.
So we're really limited in our conversation to
It's a
how do you
discussion.
like this?
Yeah,
How does it
discussion.
look? Way to go. Okay.
We should probably make a motion to proceed with this collateral as it stands, with the commission being a part of this, a sponsor on this as well.
I'll make that motion.
Motion? Mr. Chapman. Motion has been made and seconded. Are we all in agreement that we should proceed with this program?
Absolutely.
Any objections? Motion's passed. The next part of our agenda is a discussion and recommendations on the formation of a mission ad hoc subcommittee comprised of the chair, vice chair, and secretary to focus on the mission statement based on information provided in the normalizing racial equity in local government and mission vision goals of commission meetings. Does anybody have any thing they'd like to say on the
I will make a
subject?
motion that we go ahead and approve the formation of that subcommittee. We only have one member of the committee here, but obviously the other two members were here when this was put on the agenda, so I'll make the motion that we approve it.
I second the motion that we approve the formation of this mission committee.
Okay, I will say, are we in consensus that this is something that we want to do? Are there any objections? Seeing none, the motion passes. We will now move on to a presentation and discussion by Chief Albanese on the selection process, on the captain's selection process.
So this will be, kind of give folks insight as far as how the selection process is done for the position of police captain. But understand that it's also a civil service position within the organization, so for the most part, it's an internal selection process. They have reached outside the organization in the past, but the last couple times that has not been the case, and I don't foresee it happening in the future. So Management Services Division, or department, or our HR department, provides the oversight as far as the process. So the process begins with an application, and there are requirements or baseline requirements that are needed to apply for the position. You have to be a police officer for at least 10 years. You have to be a lieutenant for at least 2 years, and it also requires a bachelor's degree from an accredited college or university. From there, the applicants will apply through MSD, and then there's coordination with the police department as far as the testing process. Specific to this selection process, there are 3 phases to the testing process. The first and second overlap in the sense that on the day of the test, you'll be required to be involved in an interview with an interview panel that typically is chiefs of police in the region. Glendale, Pasadena, San Gabriel, Alhambra, LADA's office, their chief in the investigative bureau. The other part is that once you've done the interview, then there's a pause, and then you'll go or come to actually City Hall, and you'll be given a scenario. And you have 15 minutes. It'll be something situational, notable event, unfolding event, and you'll be given 15 minutes to present to a mock city council. And typically the folks that sit on that panel are department heads, Burbank City department heads, and or their number 2s. So the candidate would come before city council in this setting, actual setting, and present at the podium. And the reason they get 15 minutes is that what we're trying to replicate is that I get a phone call at 10 to 6 on a Tuesday night, and that you're going to present on a particular incident or topic and just make it happen. So we're trying to, again, replicate that pressure is that you have limited information, limited time, and the expectation is that you can present to City Council in a intelligent manner and to update or provide information, whatever the scenario is going to be, so that they can be informed. So that particular scenario or vignette has been very productive because the feedback we get from the panel is the ability of the candidate, how they organize their thoughts, how they communicate, do they know the subject matter, and if they don't know, how they navigate that. And that's what we're looking for, because there are times when we just don't have that information. So that panel will give them a grade, if you will, and typically they'll rank them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Each panel member will have an opportunity to provide rationale as far as how the candidate did. Generally, they're very consistent as far as their 1, 2, 3, 4, 5s. They may get stuck in the mud on 2 and 3 or 3 and 4, but it's pretty consistent. It's the same with the interview panel. So for a candidate, it's somewhat of a pressure cooker. So you're going into the initial interview with chiefs of police who I'm going to believe are subject matter experts, and they know their stuff as it relates to policy development, managing personnel, overseeing disciplinary processes, budget, community engagement, collaborating with other city departments, all of that. And they are going to ask you questions. So these are folks that know the material, have been in your seat before, and they are also going to give you a ranking of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you have interview, then you have the scenario. So phase 1, 2, they're on the same day. And then if the candidate succeeds, then I'll get a list. And then there'll be what they call the COP, the Chief of Police interview. And that is a one-on-one interview that I will have, or whoever is the chief, with the candidate. And there are questions that will be asked, and it's conversational, but it's an opportunity for myself and the candidate to engage as far as the position, the organizational expectations, the city expectations, all of that. So that, depending on who you talk to, it could be not that big of a deal, or they could lose 5 pounds sweating during that process. Again, that typically lasts about 30 minutes, and then we're done with the testing process. So I'll get a list from management services, and once the list is there, I do have the discretion of the selecting from that list. I'm not bound to select number 1, number 2, number 3. And certainly you look at their career, you look at their work history, you look at their education, and all of that matters. Community engagement, community involvement, volunteer, are they on any boards, all of that we look at, and then make a decision as far as the selection. And that's pretty much it.
Thank you very much for that presentation. Does anybody on the commission have any questions for the chief?
Is there a preference to our own?
There is. The last 3 captain's tests have been all inside. The last time we went outside was in 09-10.
I know there was a time where that was necessary, but I have to say, much like with your own selection, sir, I was relieved to see that City of Burbank is starting to not spend $300,000 on searching for someone when we have qualified people right here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Seems very thorough. How does this selection process compare to, say, how other cities do it?
Very, very similar.
Very similar?
So I'll speak to the chiefs. It's not uncommon for the chiefs to reach out to each other. Hey, have a captain's list or test coming up. Are you available to sit on the board? So they do similar processes. There are some cities that will have a community panel also. There are some cities that don't have the vignette or the scenario. The feedback that I've gotten from the folks that sit on the panel has been very insightful. And essentially, that's a big part of what you do is present to the community, present to city council, present to the police commission. And the expectation that we have, the organization has, is that you can navigate that process seamlessly.
Thank you.
I suspect that there's some vetting that goes on. When does that come into? Is that the beginning during the application? Background vetting.
So whether the candidate qualifies, and that would be management services. So they're going to look to see if they have the time in law enforcement, the time in rank, and also verify if they have at least a bachelor's degree. Most of our command staff has bachelor's and master's now and in the past. I can't recall. There may have been one or two that would only have a bachelor's, but most have bachelor's, master's. Some are working on their PhD. Some agencies have attorneys that, in addition to having the bachelor's degree. So there's the bachelor's and then postgraduate. Does that answer your question? Yeah. So the background, there's no background investigation. There's going to be a personnel package where you'll be able to see evaluations, commendations. If there's any discipline associated with the candidate, you'll be able to see that and see if it happened 20 years ago and they drove through a stop sign and took a day off. But all that information is available to us during the process.
So does this kind of create a cascading effect that if you promote a lieutenant, that creates now an opening for a lieutenant, and now it opens up, I guess, for sergeants to promote?
So you're spot on. So it's a big deal. So if you promote a captain, it impacts 4 other positions. So, and I'm not counting a police officer, it's a detective sergeant, lieutenant to captain. So that's 4 positions. So if you promote someone to sergeant, it leaves a void either in detectives or an officer. Lieutenant, sergeant, officer, detective. So it does. So staffing is a big deal where we're at and where the need is as far as sergeants, lieutenants, and or captains.
Thank you for your answer.
You got it.
Just had a question, and you alluded to this, but if you could just speak to kind of the very broad strokes, the roles and responsibilities of a captain. You alluded to the fact that there's a lot of presentations and things like that, but that may inform just the understanding of what the hiring process looks like and why you have those type of panels and different things.
Certainly. You have the day-to-day operations. So depending on the division you're in, you have the day-to-day operations of overseeing anywhere from 20 to 80 plus folks, uniformed, investigative personnel. So you have the day-to-day operations to make sure that folks are in compliance with policy and procedure. The expectation I also have is that if we're falling short in an area, is that you identify it, you make a recommendation, and when we meet as a command staff, is that we look at modifying policy, implementing a policy, acquiring equipment. In addition to that, you have to be conversant with the budget. There's a price point associated with everything. So managing your personnel and managing your budget. So, and then there's discipline that's going to be associated with it. Folks that, where there's a policy violation, whether it's driving or other misconduct, is oversight of that. There's a training component where the expectation is to train and to develop your personnel. And that's a biggie as far as developing your personnel. And it doesn't have to be in a formal setting. It can be one-on-one. I do a lot of walking around. All these captains do a lot of walking around. We walk into someone's office, we sit down, and we just chat. And the purpose of that is to let them, well, one, I think it's informative because they get a lot of feedback as far as what's going on, but they also know that we're paying attention. And subtly, you can find out what their goals are, career aspirations are, and you can start talking about that. So that can be done informally and formally. That's separate and apart from community engagement, which is a big part of this city, of this organization. Every one of our staff officers is associated with a service group. I'm not sure other cities can say the same thing. We're associated with Boys and Girls Club, FSA, the Burbank Police Foundation, Kiwanis, Rotary, Burbank BCR, and Dennis, what else am I missing? Domestic Violence Task Force, and I'm probably missing one or two others. But that's a big deal. And I'll go back to LaChasse, Chief LaChasse. That was the first thing that he insisted that every one of his command staff be involved in a service group in the city of Burbank. So there are some of us that are involved in other service groups outside the city of Burbank. Myself, Captain Cremens, for sure. So that is being embedded into the community. When there's an opportunity for community forums, community engagement opportunities, the expectation is that you can represent the department. One of the other things that we are doing now, when it's been a collective decision, is that I want more of our staff to present to Police Commission and City Council. You've seen new faces you've never seen before, and one of the things I'm also going to suggest is you've never asked about budget, how that looks like. What does timekeeping look like? What is a PRA request? What does that look like? And I would like to bring in some of our analysts in so that you get to see and also understand what we do on a day-to-day basis. We're open 24/7. We never close. My wife gets tired of hearing that, but the reason I share it because it resonates with folks. We don't close, and if there's legislative mandates, judicial mandates, we still have to be in compliance in addition to running the day-to-day operation of the organization, training, develop, and all of that. That was a long answer, and I apologize for that.
Thank you.
Commissioner McKenna?
Since we just had a captain retire, is this process started already, or?
No. It's when I will make that decision, and I'm in a organizational streamline mode. So when the time is right, we'll make that decision. So the other thing, and actually, thank you for asking that question. If you have the right people in the right places, we're fine right now. So if something happens to me, if something happens to Cremens, Cornelius, we'll be fine. Not for 2 years, but for a few months, we'll be fine. And that's part of the development process. Yes.
At the point where you decide that there's need for an additional captain, how much time does it take from the start of the process to the person takes the seat?
That's an excellent question. Typically 2 months, because it's scheduling, because we have to schedule through MSD, our HR department, because they oversee that whole process. So we have to get on their calendar because there has to be an announcement. And the announcement's done in the daily bulletin. So there's so many days associated with the announcement that the captain's selection process will begin on this date. And then there's the application process, and there's another 14 days. And then it's coordinating the panels, because you have 2 panels. So we're going to take folks away from their full-time job to be with us for a full day. And that's scheduling. And then the chief's interview are staggered. They're not all on the same day. And then it's a review by MSD to get essentially a sanctioned list, and then we have a list. So 2 months, 2.5 months is probably more accurate.
Thank you very much. Anybody else have any questions?
I'm not trying to oversimplify, but for instance, with captain, you've got to have a pretty small, at least internally, group of people that are actually qualified to move forward. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, and you're spot on. So I can tell you how many lieutenants we have. We have 9 lieutenants. So, and not all of them are qualified or meet the requirements because they don't have 2 years in the position. Not all of them have bachelor's degrees. So it will be probably a smaller candidate pool.
Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off. That was,
Mm-hmm.
okay. It's my last question. You know, what, if any, role could there be or would be helpful for the police commission to play in this process at all? For example, you mentioned some other places have a community panel, and it sounds like we don't do that, but there is another panel. Would it be, would it make sense for a commission member to be present at, the panel that we do have, or is that, I don't know if that runs afoul of, certain HR policies and things like that.
Right.
since we're not
It doesn't
city
have
employees,
anything to do
but-
with HR policy. We have some liberty there. That's something that we certainly can consider. The testing process for us, the last 2, because I had my DNA on the last 2, has worked for us, and I've been very pleased with the outcome. So I'm not sure. Let me think on that. Okay.
If there's no other questions, let's move on to the presentation of general announcements by the chief.
Okay, so I'll just remain up here. So I'm going to use my glasses on this one because my EA did not do the proper font for me. I need 24 font. Okay, so on March 4th, we have the McKinley Elementary Community School read-in. So I will be reading a book to, I'm not sure what grade. I get to select a book, and the book I have selected, and it's my favorite book, it's my favorite leadership book and my favorite kids book, is When You Give a Mouse a Cookie. So if you're familiar with that book, you'll understand why. So so far, it's been a hit.
Is the font size correct?
What's that?
Is the font size correct?
Yeah, I'll wear my glasses for that. What's that? March 1st, didn't I say that? Okay, I apologize, March 1st. Okay, Community Academy has begun, and it's every Thursday night, and it goes through April 11th. On February 28th, we have Career Day at Horseman Child Development Center. And essentially what we do is we have officers that show up there, they're in uniform, and they just talk about being a police officer. It gives the kids an opportunity to ask any question they want to about what's it like being a police officer. So it's just a subtle introduction to a career in law enforcement. It doesn't necessarily have to be on the sworn side, non-sworn. Sometimes we'll take non-sworn folks, because when you look at the organization, it's not only sworn, which we see daily, but it's the folks behind the scenes, our comm center, our records bureau, our forensic science, the folks that work in the jail, our analysts, our finance. All those folks are part of making the organization work and thrive. And then we're also working on another Coffee with a Cop date, and we're trying to shoot for March. We do not have a date or location yet, but when we do, we'll get it on the website and we'll get it out to you folks. So any questions on that, on my report outs?
Thank you, Chief, for your presentation. We'll move on to introduction of agenda items for future meetings. Anybody have any ideas, suggestions?
Again, going back to the fact that our chairman and our vice chairman are not here, I think we should affirm the 2 that are scheduled for March. And because it's been something that I've seen on social media questioned, the encryption of the radio channels, I think that was pretty well explained to us, but I guess it needs to be explained to the community because people continue to think there's a conspiracy there, and we need to spread that it's regional, it's not local. So that would be my recommendation for March, and then hold off on future agenda items until the chairman's here.
So you're saying, can we consider, we who are here now, consider moving up that item on the encryption from April to March?
I'm just saying the two that are already scheduled for, that are already tentatively scheduled for March, and then add the third.
Yeah.
If, for, here you go, sorry. I've got everything here, just that copy what you need. Yeah. Oh, yeah, just cut and paste, yeah.
Yeah, you have a different list.
This isn't,
Oh, that's the dashboard.
oh, okay. Well, it would be, just to read it off so that it's in the record, presentation on new programs for recruitment and education in the community is scheduled for March tentatively. Dashboard item is equity and hiring and advancement, which seemed to me like it would be part of the first one. And then April, presentation on encryption of the radio channels and effect on police and fire response. I think Sergeant Turner did a wonderful job explaining that already, but maybe we need to publicize it more so that people that are concerned can see it on here.
So that would move up to in March.
Yes, that's my motion, those three.
Well, I would think that since we've already had a presentation on that subject, that maybe we can really just do it very short. I mean, not try to redo the same presentation all over again. That, I mean, there is a policy, and I think all we have to do is say the policy. I believe it's 10, 15-minute delay now on communications.
Yeah, but I also think more importantly that the policy is not Burbank. The policy is regional. The policy is Burbank Fire and it's Tri-City. Is that correct, Chief?
Well, yes and no. So, yes, we'll do a presentation update because the ask was when we went to Broadcastify is that there was going to be an ask for an update on how it's working. It would be an opportunity to provide clarity for the community as far as how it all works. So I would say yes to that for March.
Everybody in agreement with that?
Do we need to have a motion to move that agenda item?
I just made the motion that those three things be included for March.
I'll second your motion.
Just a point of clarification, so the equity and hiring, we need something more specific, because that's a very broad topic, so either we'll let the department make a decision, or if you want to come up with something separate, since it was on your dashboard, it kind of makes sense for the two of the recruitment things, maybe for the new programs of recruitment, maybe the chief could address any equity hiring type of things
It's exactly
altogether, right?
what the commissioner to my right was just saying, that those two should probably be combined. That becomes one item and then followed by the encryption.
Update.
And my only reason for the encryption is that I think it's one of those things that when we shine a light on it, the naysayers are going to realize there's nothing to hide. And it's also it's not a choice that was made by Burbank PD. It's a regional thing. And more explanation we can get, hopefully, we can slow the rumor mill down.
Okay, so we had a motion by Commissioner McKenna. Did we have a second? And then did we vote on it?
We have not voted yet. Is everybody in agreement on that subject?
Yes.
Any objection? Nope, motion passes.
I have a question, again, just given that our chairman isn't here tonight. I know we have the calendar discussion item on for tonight. Is it possible to postpone that till next month? And so.
I apologize, but I had said that earlier. You're absolutely correct. Thank you.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
Yeah, so I will motion to
Yes.
move the calendar item that's on this agenda to the March meeting.
And that
Should we vote on that?
No, I think we just postponed it.
Okay.
It was already on this agenda, already approved, so we'll just move it.
So do we have anything then on the calendar for April? Or will we decide that in March,
I believe we should decide that in March when we have
when
a
full committee is
full-
here?
Yeah.
full table.
I'd like to bring up something, I guess it's concerning the dashboard. We have numerous ad hoc committees. And if you're not on the committee, you're kind of operating in the blind. And in a situation like tonight where two key members were not available, I would like to see on the dashboard that each ad hoc committee provides a status of what they're working on and where they are with the project with a possible due date. that way, I just feel like we have at least an idea of what everybody is up to.
I agree. I think that's valid. As a matter of fact, what I was thinking as I'm looking at this, and we know we have the skills of Commissioner Hagopian at our resources, I think this would be a great flyer to have for the first day of school. Something similar to this, but for parents so that they know. I mean, you can tell people as much, hopefully, especially on the elementary school level. Like, the high school levels is a whole different level, but on the elementary schools, when it comes to the valet parking and the things of that nature, if we can sort of make something like this up that goes out to the parents prior to school starting, hopefully the school safety will be something that we can start working on day one, not day two, not week two, when bad habits have already been established.
So you're agreeing with the suggestion that subcommittees all kind of do some kind of an update?
Yes, and I think one of the things is that what we need to do, one of the updates are important is because we can learn from each other. This is, I mean, I've been in touch with Commissioner Gopian about this. This is obviously much more elaborate than he had said. He played himself down. But I look at this and I'm thinking of how we customize it, and we have to be done in March and April so that it's ready in August. But for each individual school, this is where the drop-offs are. These are the timeframes, and put it out in black and white so that the guessing game isn't there. I will say, when my son was in elementary school, I was always impressed at the Burbank police officers that were there on motorcycles. And one of the officers, I spoke to him early on, and he said that hyper enforcement the first 2 weeks sets the patterns for the rest of the year. And I agree with that 100%. And I think that we need to give people the tools to establish the patterns.
And just if I may step in here, Commissioners, if this is at this point in the discussions, we're setting future agenda items. If there is a need for an additional item to be scheduled regarding this flyer or educational materials regarding safe driving, we can go ahead and set that as a future agenda item. But at this point, it's just setting, coming up with ideas for the next agenda.
Yeah, I think, I mean, related to that, and your question around having, or around having
Housekeeping.
Ad hoc committees present, having an agenda item around that is, I think from previous conversations we had, that's something that is kind of part of the agenda item where like at the beginning of the meeting, where commissioners share out. So I don't know if we need to add anything really to the agendas that we usually have, or is that not?
It
or am I
might help you all if
misunderstanding?
you did agendize an item about a discussion of ad hoc subcommittees, how many you have you attained your goals at this point? Because we have a lot of outstanding committees that we can't keep dragging them on for forever. So maybe you agendize an item and say, how many committees do we have? Have we completed these agenda items? And we'll move on to new ad hoc subcommittees, or just, we're done. Because they have to be at a finite
Right.
time frame.
Okay, so in discussing them would be an item, but in terms of, there's no reason a committee can't share out at, at the current agenda item that we have. Okay, thank you.
But nothing actionable, right?
Right, yeah, it's just a share out, report out, yeah.
Are there any other additional agenda items? Chief?
So I will look at the agenda, because Sherry and I will look at the agenda. If there is a time or a space available and staffing is not an issue, I'm probably going to ask that we introduce PRAs and have a presentation on PRAs. I think it's important for the Police Commission to know some of the other things that we do, really important things that we do, and it's also an opportunity to meet more of our staff. So whether it's PRA, a Public Request Act, or how is timekeeping done. So I'd like to have that ability to slide one in if necessary, or when I can do it. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
And with the city attorney, the chief always has a slot in our agenda. Is that appropriate, or does he have to be agendized every time?
Just general comments is, he has the updates and
believe it's called specifically general announcements. That's fine.
The department has the prerogative to add agenda items if there was something of interest and timeliness that we need to bring up, like the driver campaign. You did not agendize that, but we brought it up because, Commissioner Coben wants to move forward with getting this out there. So that's why it was brought to your attention tonight.
By the way, when do we discuss this again? Do we have this on any agenda or?
I believe Commissioner Agopian and Commissioner Combs would probably bring it up again during the commissioner comments at the next meeting. Give
Okay.
the progress as
And a
was pointed
progress
out.
report, subcommittee progress report.
As it was pointed, yeah, that's the way I think it'd be appropriate.
Okay.
So just want to, Commissioner Elman, did you want to make a motion to have an item around this, kind of just discussing and making, being clearer about which ad hoc subcommittees we have at the moment and who is on
Yeah.
them and all those kinds of things
Yeah.
for April, or?
Yeah, I would like for April to agendize a discussion on ad hoc committees and the reporting of their status, their goals, and I would like to see due dates, so it doesn't go on forever. And I'll make the motion. Would anybody like to second it? I'll call for a vote. Everybody in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. If there's no other items, I will close this meeting, and we will next meet on Wednesday, March 20th, 6 p.m. here in the City Council chambers. Thank you and good night.